Hey, welcome to another exciting episode of The Look Back. I am the necromancer of film, Joshua Klein, and I'm joined by my brother from another mother, my partner in crime, my my it's Frankie San, my Frank, my Frankie San.
Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy Frank B. We're back for another movie review. This time, The Last Dragon. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what this hand motion was that I just did, but that we're gonna go with that. What's going on, man?
Oh, it's going fine, man. Last Dragon, Barry Gordon's Last Dragon, but put
Yes,
some
yeah, I was
respect
about to
on that
say.
guy's name,
I
Barry
actually added
fucking
that.
Gordon.
That was the title. Like, I literally added that as the title before I actually put The Last Dragon, so I could make sure
I mean, you put
we
the
give
respect
my
on
man
it.
his roses. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
he put this together from his heart and his soul,
I,
and we can tell.
okay. So I have. Have you ever seen the Last Dragon prior to that? Prior to this podcast?
No, no, this is
Have,
one of the
have,
ones I
have
had.
you ever heard of it?
Okay, I had heard of it in passing, but I didn't know what it was. Like, I'd heard the name The Last Dragon. Like, you always hear, I mean, most of those old kung fu movies, but I had never actually seen what it was. I didn't know it was a like a Motown movie. So that took me for a loop. First 15 minutes, I'm like, hey, isn't it?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Is that
Mm-hmm.
El
Yeah.
DeBarge?
Okay. So I saw this film back in 2009.
Oh wow, so it's been a
Uh,
minute for you.
Yeah, well, that's the first time I saw it. I saw it recently a couple of years ago. I've always find myself revisiting this film. My mom's second husband loved loved this movie, and he always talked about Bruce Leroy and stuff like that in The Glow.
Hmm.
So when I finally got a hand of it in the library, I had to watch it, and I remember loving it.
Hmm.
I think I love, but I think I only really loved it for Shonuff. And when we get to Shonuff, and you get to Eddie Arcane, whoo man, like the villains in this movie are really strong.
Yeah.
Plot we'll get to. But okay, so from what I remember before pushing play, of course I remember Show Enough, Bruce Leroy being a kung fu like kind of a master who idolized Bruce Lee. Um, I in Harlem. Here we go. Once again, we're back in Harlem, bro. Like this is like all like you take Shaft, New Jack City. Was actually this is set in 1985, so it's like all right, Shaft, Last Dragon, New Jack City, and Juice is like the quadruple. But this one's kind of an outlier because this is kind of a goofy movie, and it's like it's a perfect, I guess, sequel to The Way of the Dragon because at the time, Bruce Lee had died like 10 like well he died in 71
Yeah.
is when
So
Bruce Lee
it's been about
died.
what, 15
7
years?
72. So it's been 13 years since Bruce Lee died. All right, and so and his movies were starting to get like relevancy at this time, and I have a problem with one of the scenes because they incorrectly named some of these movies, but that's okay, we'll get there. I knew the Bruce Lee ties. I remember Richie, and I remember one of the goons, Rocky, was the guy from Dumb and Dumber. I was like, oh, it's the guy from Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
And there's a super fucking fresh cameo, kind of bit part from a character actor that I absolutely fucking love. You know who that is?
No, I actually don't.
We'll get there because
Okay.
it's there.
All right. No,
But
it's good.
before we get deep down into Leroy Green's journey to the glow, Frankie, give him a little quick summary.
All right, man. So today's movie is. Let me get my notes straight. Hold on. God damn. All right, today's movie is Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon from 1985. It is a young man trying to obtain the final level of martial arts mastering while fighting an evil martial arts expert and attempting to rescue a beautiful singer. This movie stars Timac as Bruce Leroy Green. That is his literal name, or Bruce Leroy. Depends on who you're talking to. It also stars Vanity as Laura Charles, Julius Carey as Shonuff, the Shogun of Harlem, and Christopher Murray as Eddie Arcadian. It has a whole bunch of cameos that I do not have time to list, but there are a lot of people in this movie. It is obviously a Motown piece, like we talked about in the intro. It's also one of the few Barry Gordy like productions that made it to like a silver screen, if that makes sense. They did the TV movies for MTV in the 80s too, but this was like their first step past that. So that being said, man, I think your summary is pretty solid. Plot wise, what I said is the literal plot, and how we get there does not also follow what I wrote down. Like, I'm not even playing. Like, I actually went back and reread it because I wrote the summary like afterwards and read my notes, and I was like, there's actually some stuff that we take some zigs and zags in this one, man. So
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
let's jump in.
this is there's a subplot here that is, I feel is only in here because of the 80s. And that is the whole Seven Heaven, the music video show is totally in this movie just because it's the 80s. Like that is what I feel going out, but like I remember it really dates itself. All right. But before we get there, brother, we have another great opening sequence getting us into the action already. Bruce Leroy or Leroy Green, I think Bruce Leroy is his nickname. People call it because they know he's like in Harlem. His nickname is Bruce Leroy because he's really good at kung fu, so that's why they call him. So we see Bruce Leroy. He's fucking doing some kung fu, hitting something, and his master's throwing, shooting bow and like an arrow at him. And he's fucking chopping it down, doing all this cool shit. Really setting up how really good Timac is in this film as Bruce Leroy, martial art wise. His acting we'll get to, but in this sequence right here, it established already how badass this character is.
Yeah. Opening scene, I love the arrow part, even though it's really goofy.
Yes.
It was like it does kind of set up like some of the premises that do kind of help the movie. I don't want to say it's move along, but it also sets up like all the tropes that you're going to see throughout the movie. The only thing that took me out of it, and I know I sent you the video, but like me laughing at some of the slow mo karate chops, where I was like, all right, if it's all gonna be like this,
oh come on, it's badass, dude. He's in there paying attention to something, whack, and all of a sudden he shoots it like the master shoots the arrow, and Leroy just goes, "Ooh, come on, dude! That's a staple in kung fu movies. I had no problem with this. Like, you have to establish your character, and this.
It was his face, bro. He looked goofy every time he was doing it. Maybe it's because I'm used to seeing Bruce Lee where he's like serious, because his face was always like he was low key scared. I was like, bro, just catch the arrow. Like we've seen you.
Well, listen, Timac. I'll say right now, Timac has a baby face, man, and he just looks too nice.
He really did the whole movie.
Well, it kind of goes with him because, like, okay, so this film, every time I think about it, this feels like a wrestling storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Follow me, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Bruce Leroy is a babyface, like a good guy, good doer who doesn't fight. I mean, we'll get, as we get into it, like he doesn't fight to fight. He only fights to if he's provoked. Okay, that's what martial arts do. And you got Sho'nuff, because after the opening, we'll get to Sho'nuff real quick. Let's get to the opening scene with the master, because this is the journey that Leroy needs to go on. Mm-hmm. So after the opening sequence, the master was just like, "Look, I taught you everything you need to go, man. You did all the stages. Now it's back to zero, back to nothing." Because like now he has nothing else to teach, and Leroy doesn't get it. He's like, "No, like, oh, but what's like you're my master still," and like everything. Like when the master rips off the symbol on his chest, Leroy automatically feels like he fucking did something wrong. Oh no! But the master's like, "Look, how did you know that you caught the blue fucking arrow?"
Yeah.
Leroy goes, "I don't know." And the master's like, "Oh my god, like that's it. Like your body reacted without you didn't think about it." And that's, if you watch Enter the Dragon, there's a whole saying about like the whole like doing nothing, like you don't think about kicking, like your body do it on its own. That's when you reach a high level of martial arts. If your body reacts on its own when you're not thinking about it, it just moves. Okay, so like that's like it already shows how high level this dude is. So the master's journey was just like, all right, now you got to go on, and the master wants to say like, you're the fucking master. You have to believe in it. But Leroy does like, no, I have to find a new master. So he sends them on a quest to find Sungum Dao.
I'm trying to find the pronunciation. Let me try to find that pronunciation for you. Hold on.
That was Sun Gun Ho.
Some dumb goy.
Sam Dun Goy. So it's like, all
Yeah.
right, and he gives him an amulet that belonged to Bruce Lee. So in this universe, Bruce Lee was like, basically our world. Like, hey, Bruce Lee's this actor, well-known martial artist. Here's his medallion. Go find this Sun Dun Gao and go on your journey. Cool. So then then we see like how different Bruce Leroy is around Harlem because we actually think like, oh, he's in he's in a Oriental like an Asian place doing all these martial arts. No, he's in Harlem because he goes out. He's dressed up in his gimmick, walking around town and looking very different. Looking very different.
I loved that it was an instant parallel to the movie we just watched, but the hat was killing me because I was like, why would you? Okay, first of all, you're in Harlem, and I feel like the 80s is the last period where you could get away with kind of doing some goofy stuff in New York without really getting messed up. And this movie is like what 85. So
Yes.
like him being a martial arts guy coming from Harlem, it kind of made sense. But the fish out of water stuff for me kind of was goofy at first, but I enjoyed it as that scene kind of played out. I thought it was pretty interesting. I
Because
wrote. Oh, good.
no,
My
you go
fault.
ahead.
I was just gonna say I actually enjoyed the opening soundtracks like throughout this movie because it's a very 80s soundtrack, but I
Oh
kind of
yeah.
like that. I like that Motown vibe. That was pretty cool. Go ahead.
No, because the next scene is all right. So the next scene we go into a movie theater and everybody's watching Enter the Dragon, and since we just watched Way of the Dragon, it's like
Mhm.
there's some familiarity, and I feel like this film does a lot of Bruce Lee tropes, like Bruce Lee that happens in Bruce Lee films are going to happen in this film. This feels like a love letter to Bruce Lee because he's in a lot of this movie. He's not in the movie per se, but a lot of it's like he's in the movie. Like, all right, so we see the scene of Enter the Dragon where he beats up a white dude, and the crowd is interreacting like, oh yeah, fuck him up, all this stuff, like talking to the screen, like a fun time, like it looks like it's fun to watch this movie, and you got motherfuckers breakdancing, just like do in the aisle, just like what
It's
the
like, oh
hell,
snap! Oh,
and then Shogun shows up, and wow, what an introduction to your villain! His crew comes in, they all stand up in a line, and all of a sudden you see this guy in fucking shoulder pads and a fucking glasses and saying like, "Who's the meanest?" Showed up. You're just like, "What the fuck?" And they come up and like, "Oh wait, well I missed a part too because they actually do a cool inner sequence where it's like the radio is going on right, and the guy like jumps up to smash it, and it's at the same part in the movie where Bruce Lee kills the white dude.
yeah, yeah, it
And
was
he
pretty
does it to their fucking radio and goes, ah, like they're just mimicking it. And that's when Shonuff shows up.
show enough, man. That entrance, dude.
He
That
commands a room.
I really appreciated that the two guys that first stepped up to fight him were like the two biggest dudes. So I was like, y'all are going to get destroyed. But okay, good luck.
I love how he's gonna come sit down, and then the crew's like, "Get up, that's Shonuff's eye." Everyone's like,
They're like, yeah, okay,
"Oh,
all right, yep. I'll see you later.
right."
I loved in that fight too. Not to get too ahead of ourselves, that he bit the dude on the Achilles. He
Oh,
just like, he was
I'll
like,
get to it. No, because he says an awesome line too. So he's so I think some kid is like telling him to sit down. He's like, "All right, who's telling me to sit down?" Like, oh, me, I did. Oh no, it's like I'm the best fighter in here, and some kid's like, "No, you're not." Who said that? Picks the little kids like, "Who's better than me? Who's better than Shonuff?" Bruce Leroy, and Bruce Leroy is at the movie, and
yeah,
he's
he's like,
eating popcorn with chopsticks. Just
man,
dude's living the gimmick. So then Shonuff's like, "Oh, okay," and starts wants to fight Bruce,
yeah,
Mr. Leroy, and everybody's like, no, like, and all of a sudden everybody starts jumping him, the whole like theater starts jumping, showing up, and he's whipping their ass, showing how badass he is. So this is the scene that introduced Shonuff and how formidable opponent he could be for Leroy. And you talk about the dude he bite the Achilles. So the dude kicks him. He puts him in ankle lock, and he goes like, "You're never gonna use this foot again," and just fucking like rotating it around, and then he bites him. I was like, Jesus, the dude, like this fight scene shows how fucking mean he is, how
Yep.
fucking dirty he is,
Yep.
and how awesome and badass Shonuff is. And it's a scene that keeps going and over. And I feel like the movie's at its strongest when Shonuff is on the screen.
I agree. He was the character, I will say, and it's partially because I could have swore it was Dion Cole, but I'm like, Dion Cole's not that old. That actor was incredible in this role. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it's weird because, like, yeah, like we'll get into the quality of some other things, but the way he conveyed the screen, like, I couldn't look away. Like, his character was really cool to me. Like, especially having seen some of the old Shogun movies and stuff like that, like who he's supposed to kind of be modeled after, like even down to the hair. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's probably what a black dude would look like if he
Well,
had that old Shogun hairstyle.
and it's
So,
kind of there's a kind of because Shonuff is it's supposed to be the Shogun of Harlem, which is Japanese, Bruce
mhm,
Lee being Chinese. There's a rivalry between China and
in Japan.
Japan, and
Yep.
there's a movie called Fist of Fury where Bruce Lee fights an entire dojo of Japanese uh, karate people, and it's fucking awesome. So like, okay, so having Shonuff as like a shogun, and okay, so I don't know if you noticed, but you see how Bruce Leroy walks out. He's kind of on top of the chairs, just kind of
Mhm.
ninja human. Well, we'll get to him being a ninja.
Mhm.
Okay, so I think the next scene is when we are introduced to Laura, played by Vanity. Now, do you know who Vanity is?
I've heard of it or I've heard of her. I'm sorry.
Wow.
But I also know that she is no longer with us. That's what I remember. But she was a musician, right? Vanity Six, correct?
She's one of Prince's proteges.
Oh, really? She dated? Did she date Prince?
She,
Oh,
I,
she did.
I think she even dated Prince.
Wow. Yeah, Nikki Six was the other person.
Yes, yeah. So like this, like, and I thought she was Vanity. Laura is just listen. We didn't grow up in these. We're fucking 90 kids.
Hmm.
But goddamn, Vanity, they, whew, whew, brother.
She was very pretty.
Oh, and this is the part of like the subplot I wish it didn't need to be here. But I feel like it's the reason why it's here is to give Leroy an excuse to fight um, Shonuff. But I felt like
Hmm.
Shonuff did something later in the movie that warranted an ass whooping. But I guess not. But so we introduced to Laura in this Seventh Heaven like show where they play music videos. So think TRL, think of 106 in Park, where they show music videos and have a hype crowd and they dancing. Soul Train
Yeah, I
as
think it
another
was
thing.
supposed to be like Soul Train.
Yeah, and Richie's there, and we know that Richie is like in love with Laura. Like that's my girl. Give me a kiss. And I think because Vanity was like in like Prince's crew, like she had screen presence. I think like and like well screen and stage presence. Like every like she's good. I just
Yeah,
don't
not terrible.
necessarily believe that this works in the movie today. Um, because like it just introducing to Nick because of Laura introduced to Seventh Heaven, we are introduced to Eddie Arcane,
Hmm.
the other villain, the villain that I like. Okay, so I think back Way of the Dragon. He is the boss that was trying to take over the Chinese restaurant. I think he fits that role that we saw the last time we saw like a kung fu film. He fits in that mold. Okay,
Okay.
and it also remind me of Game of Death. There's a character in Game of Death who's kind of like this. They even sets up like obstacles for Bruce Lee to go towards at the end. Uh, if we ever get to Game of Death, it's a fucking ooh, brother. A lot of
Yeah.
stuff happened in that movie. Yeah, he died before the movie ended, like finished, and they took shots from other movies, it's like jarring. Like it's not really Bruce Lee until like the last like 30 minutes where he's fighting like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and stuff like that. It's
Oh
fucking
yeah,
dope.
that's the one they filmed like when he was dying, right?
No, he's already dead. He was already dead. Like he
What?
started filming it and then died.
Yeah, that's what I
Uh,
meant.
yeah. And when we see Bruce Leroy next at the school, he's wearing the jumpsuit from Game of Death. But
Gotcha.
anyways, Eddie Arcane, what a
Eddie
silly guy!
Arcane.
What a
Dude,
silly guy!
dude, I loved the. Did we ever figure out what was in that tank?
No,
It was just
and we
water.
didn't see anybody go into the tank. I feel like if this was a rated R film, someone would have fucking gone into the tank. I thought Bruce Leroy was going to kick somebody in that fucking tank and he'd be dead. But anyways, so and we were introduced to Angela as well, like his girlfriend. He's trying to get her music video into Seventh Heaven. He's trying to convince. Now, there's a character named JJ who's trying to convince Laura to like, hey, play this video. There's Eddie Arcane. He plays rough. Do you know who's JJ? Do you know that actor?
I am blanking on his name, but I remembered. Hold on. Nope. Nope. You're not gonna do this one to me because I looked it up. William H. Macy. And
Motherfucking Macy, dude.
it
I
freaking
popped.
Frank from Shameless, my guy.
No, Fargo. I loved him in Fargo. I loved him in I love him in Fargo. I love him in what's the fucking movie I'm thinking of?
How dare you
Whatever. Fargo is he's fantastic at Fargo.
give Shameless a chance, Josh?
I didn't get past the second season. It's not a good show. It's overrated, people. You know, that's what I think. Yeah,
Anyways,
so Laura doesn't do it, and that's when Eddie's like, "Fuck her. We're gonna show her what's up." Because it's
yeah,
like, all right. Then we get to another scene where Bruce Leroy is teaching his class. So now, like, we know that he has a martial arts school where he's
yep.
teaching other people about martial arts, and this is kind of where we see his philosophy. One of his philosophies, please God, if I have to use my art, like if I have to use my martial arts as more as art, like please God forgive me. Please God forgive me if I have to use my art. I'm like, Jesus. Like
Yeah,
he's like if that's what it is saying, like he doesn't want to unleash his power for if he doesn't have to. If he does, please God forgive him. And show enough comes in, starts fucking making trouble. It's like, I'm here to learn. I heard there's a martial arts class here. I want to learn some martial arts. And we're introduced to Johnny Woo.
Johnny Woo.
Whoa! Like he's like your typical like he's doing all the Bruce Lee thing like whoa, 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 whoa. Like he's just making noises like he doesn't really know how to fight. He's just doing shit. He's kind of funny. He has the personality that Timac is missing. Because sometimes
Yeah,
I think Timac is like he is just dull. And usually good guys in wrestling are fucking dull. They're like we're gooders. Like no, like when Shonuff comes in, it's just like bow and kiss my Converse.
dog. Showing us some one-liners in this movie, like some of the stuff that he would even be saying, like when well, we'll get into it. I'm sorry. I'll let you keep going. But
No, you're
dude,
fine, dude. Go ahead, man.
showing us one-liners, and then the what did I write down? I wrote down every time he said "Who is the master," he made a different face,
Who's the master?
and I was like,
Who's the master?
I'm thinking like how they used to show those like blooper reels like during the credits in movies in like the 2000s. That would have been a great blooper reel because he probably stood there for a solid 15 minutes like,
Master.
who's the master? Comes in from like another angle. Who's the master? Like every time they cut to him, it was like his hair was a different angle. I was like, I love that.
And
I
I
love
love it every
that.
time. He always had a tiger. Like he always had a tiger on him. Like a tiger print was always on him.
Yep.
And different shoulder pads.
Yeah, I noticed the shoulder pads in the first one. I actually like the ones that the round red ones he wore towards the end. I thought those
Yes.
are pretty cool.
And I was actually kind of upset when we see him in the end fighting Bruce Leroy in the climax. He wasn't wearing those shoulder pads.
Yeah, I thought that was
But
good.
his gi was fucking fresh. I'll give him that. Okay, all right. So once again, Shonuff is trying to provoke, Leroy, and he's just not doing it. he picks pacifism over fighting because he's like in martial arts, you're never supposed to use um your martial arts for combat. It's always for defense. Even though in this time it was like defense, like he could have done it, but he chose not to.
Yeah.
You know, um, and he got and sure enough got a good lick in and like kissed my Converse and just fucking kicked him in the face, made him bleed. Um, so
Kiss my
then,
first.
and then we're introduced back to Richie and the Green family, right? And Richie has a big problem with his brother being all kung fu and stuff like that, being weird. I love his dad. He was like, it's weird that a black man owns a pizza shop, but everybody like people call me weird when like a black man owns a pizza shop, but now everybody can't get enough. It's like if was it what was that line he said? What was the catchphrase for it?
It was something like "Move your pizza to Mr. Green's Pizza" or
Pizza,
something.
yeah,
Yeah, I know it was
yeah.
pizza, and pizza was the rhyme. I was like, that's actually kind of catchy. I feel like if I heard that a couple of times, I'd get it down.
Oh yeah, I love how Leroy is living the gimmick of being like a kung fu master because when it comes, he goes, "Dad son, mom son, Richie son," that's Japanese. It's like that's not
Yeah,
that's not. They keep saying kung fu, so there's already a logistic issue I have here. Like Japanese and Chinese are different. There's different rules. Like Japanese are more like the sun, which is karate, and that's not what was used. Like learning is learning a Chinese kung fu. Uh,
Mhm.
and I feel like the writers don't understand this at all. But I find it like funny that he's committed. Like he sees the dot like the little like his sister and calls her Lotus Blossom Son. And Rich is like, man, you keep getting that girl a different name. She doesn't know who she is. And I feel like Richie is like, what do you think
So
about Richie the brother?
the little brother. All right, so I didn't think Richie was too crazy. I mean, I'm trying to like find the words to describe it. He was like kind of annoying at first, but I actually understood his character later on because like he's how old is he supposed to be? Like 15, 14?
Yeah, a young teenager. He's a
You know what
short
I'm saying?
dude.
So like at first, I don't know why I kept thinking he was older than he was. I was like, maybe he's supposed to be like high school, like past high school, but he was like young, man. So like, I loved the character. Like, I thought like some of the stuff he did was kind of stupid, but at the same time, it was on brand for the character he was supposed to be. You know what I'm saying?
I'm sorry, I missed a scene
You're good. We can go back.
because the scene before that was all right. So Laura's leaving Seventh Heaven, and Bruce Leroy happens to walk by.
Mm-hmm.
Happens to walk by, and they make eye contact. And I guess there's like love at first sight kind of thing here, kind of that corny bullshit here, because she can't. I can see why Laura would look at Leroy because he's in that like he's gimmick with the hat and
Yeah,
like that looks different.
looking a little
So like
goofy.
that, yeah. And she then gets in a limo and like, oh, it's a setup. Eddie's going to try to kidnap her. And that's when Leroy comes in there and starts whipping ass. We gotta be reminded this dude's a badass. Whoa, do.
And I thought it was interesting. All those guys came to do that robbery. Nobody had a gun. Like, no, they didn't really have any weapons. They just tried to grab her and throw her in the car,
Oh,
and then you know what I'm saying? Like, no
yes.
weapon, no gun. Like, they brought a gun to the second fight, right?
Well, no, well, the gun comes later. But
Okay.
in the movie theater scene, Show Enough makes reference to that Bruce Leroy could catch a bullet with his teeth. Hold on to that point because it was
Okay.
that's called setup. That's called setup. When a character's like, he can catch a bullet with his teeth. Watch it. Watch out now.
I got you.
Um, so okay. So Laura like, oh, thank you, and then like the Dark Knight, like Leroy just kind of leaves randomly, just doesn't see her get in the taxi, just like, oh, I saved you, who,
It's
and
like,
then
I'm out.
drops Bruce Lee's medallion. Like, what the fuck? But just to get these two characters together, there's an excuse. And I love how Bruce Leroy comes back and looks for his medallion. He like there's like a little scrap of like metal and just kicks it a little bit and just goes. Boop. I was like, oh wow, you looked so hard on that one, dude. And then it's that scene and blah 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 blah. But And then I love when the goons come back to see Eddie, and he's like, "What happened?" Like, there's like she had bodyguards, 20, 30 black men, and there's like a black one of the black goons goes. They all look at him and goes like, "Yeah, they were big."
Making shit up. Oh my god.
And that's when it's like, "Hey, like, we got something for our ass next time." It's like, okay. So the first kidnapping works, but the second kidnapping works. But Blue's like Leroy sees it happen, goes sees her, busting in a fucking ninja suit. I'm like, holy shit, we got ninjas going on here now. Starts whipping ass, and then it gets easily. Oh my god, he's like the worst superhero to hide his identity because Eddie's able to fucking take that mask off and is like, oh, look at that guy, and that's when Laura's like, oh, it's that dude sees me and instantly gets wet. I mean, like, look at her face. She's like, oh.
Dog, I couldn't take him seriously. I was like, dude, you really are gonna act like this whole movie. But all right, sorry, I'll let you keep going.
Okay, so like the reason why like Eddie makes Laura watch that music video of Angela. What did you think about the Dirty Magazine song?
I thought it was her singing.
Dirty boy. I liked how Eddie was getting into it. He was like, "Yeah, dirty boy."
I mean, he's playing the role of a studio exec. Like that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna boost up their product, even if it's some like BS, like what we're hearing. But
Yeah.
I thought it was like a good scene to set up. Like, all right, this is his mo. Like this is what he's gonna do.
All right,
The singing was terrible. But
he made his scene. Like, Eddie made his money by being an arcade guy. Like that's where he makes his money, and he wants his girlfriend to make it big. And he thought like he thinks that money can push her around, but Laura, even with a bunch of fucking goons, was just like, no.
She's like, this sucks. This ain't it. This ain't it, guy.
No. And then like, they're about to do something bad to her, and also that's when Bruce shows up with a fucking
Leroy.
Yeah, no. And then, dude, when Leroy takes her home, is so fucking awkward because the previous scene. Oh, so back to the scene where like when Leroy sees like the Seventh Heaven episode, like the commercial, he's like, "Oh, that's the girl." Like oh, I want to see her. Rich is like, "Man, you don't even know what to do with that. You don't even know any fucking moves, dude. Like you're a fucking virgin. You fucking piece of shit." Mm-hmm. so he's in this situation where Laura's like fucking hitting on him hard and had the medallion, and he just like, "I gotta go." Like, what the hell, dude? She's like, "You want a drink?" He's like, "No, I gotta go." I'm like, brother. She is like laying it thick on you. Like, take the sign, take the drink. You saved this girl's life, and she offers him to be a bodyguard. Like, be my bodyguard. He's like, nah, I don't do that. Well, have a drink and get laid. Nah, girl. The cocks are crowing. Like, I gotta get out of here.
I'm like, number one, you have Vanity, who is like one of the most beautiful women on the planet at this point. Oh, yeah. Especially in the 80s. And then number two, you just don't even you didn't even do like the think about it, like at least rattle the idea around in your head. You're just instantly, no. And I was like,
no, he's too honorable. He's a like superhero. He's a good guy. Okay. He's not gonna, he ain't gonna lay. Now listen, if this was I feel like at this time, anyways, like action heroes, like an Arnold would slept with her, Sylvester Stallone would have slept with her, like Bruce Willis would have slept with her. Like there's like some like because like Bruce Leroy isn't like those big macho guys, and we saw Bruce Lee, okay, in Way of the Dragon, like he had a chance to hook up with that prostitute. He's like, and no, like, all right, like that's kind of like I'm not gonna do it. I'm too modest. No. I could kill her with the glow.
I could kill her with the glow. Oh my
god. Okay, so the scene
was horrible.
What's that?
The effect with the hands.
Oh, we'll get there. Don't worry, because we got to see. Show enough, he shows up at Pop's pizzeria and fucking destroys shit. He was like, "Hey, I always heard that Leroy Green works like I can find Leroy Green here." The daddy goes, "Well, I'm Leroy Green." He's like, "Well, you talking about Junior?" And they got laughing, ha 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 ha, Junior. and and they started destroying the shit out of this pizzeria and put Richie in a garbage can. These dudes are bad guys. I mean, they're fucking destroying shit. No cops. I don't think cops exist here. They show up in the end,
Yeah, I
but
was about to say they're in the end
goddamn,
for sure.
oh well, they should have been. I mean, like, come on, they destroyed a pizzeria. I mean, they broke the fucking glass. The dude kicked the glass. Like, holy shit.
Dude, okay, so the line that I wrote down is when he goes to kick the jukebox. Who played this garbage? And
I
then
don't own that.
he just posed and goes, kick, kick, bow, shut up, bitch. And I was like,
But you knew who that was, right?
enough, Oscar, now.
You know who he
That was
kicked,
the
right?
best line.
It was
Huh?
the Dirty Boy song.
Oh, is that real? Oh,
Yes,
it was. Yeah,
it was the Dirty Boy
yeah.
song. That was owned by Eddie Arcade.
Who played this garbage?
Shut up, bitch. Boom.
Dude, he kick, and not only does he kick it, it like he like explodes a little bit. I was like, yeah, all right.
Oh yeah, yeah. And they throw Richie in the garbage can, and Leroy just comes out and he goes, "They call him a coward. Like you didn't fight back. Like all that martial arts for nothing. Like, and
Yeah,
there
his
seems
whole
like this
family turned on him.
pull. Yeah, like well, because it's like his passivism is causing issues with his family. Because like Shonuff is not stopping. He wants to fight him, and like Leroy does not want to do it. That's why you need Eddie, right, to get these two together. You like
Mhm.
because like if Eddie doesn't exist, they don't fight. But I feel like this scene, him destroying the pizzeria, deserves a fucking ass whooping.
Yeah, I'd
Like
have been like, all
fucking
right, you
deserves
messing
it.
with my family, yeah.
Right.
You messing with the god now, yeah, no.
Oh, but here's the thing though, it's just like he's just so just like apart, like he doesn't fit in
Yeah.
per se. Like but I feel like he does that to himself. Like he puts himself away. Like even when like Laura's trying to get close to him, he's like, nah, oh girl, nah, I'm too sweet and too kind and a virgin because I don't know how many moves. You're
Do
gonna
they
show me
do
the
they confirm
moves.
that in the movie?
What? He's a virgin?
Yeah.
He said I've never been with a woman before.
Okay, cool. That's what I thought. I was like, I feel like somebody said that. Like he said it. Okay. All right.
Yes.
I was like, either
Yes.
he said it or somebody else said it about him. Okay, cool.
Yes. And that's like I think the last encounter that Shonuff has with Leroy until the end.
Really? Oh yeah, because I guess the rest of the scenes are with Eddie Art. Yeah.
Yes,
Good.
well, because we're gonna focus on the love story,
Yeah.
we got to get them together. So, and that's when Eddie starts like hiring goons that can fucking special. Like they got a wild man who can break a table with his fucking head. Uh,
What is his name? Dog or Beast?
I think it's Beast. Yes. And then that's when Rocky finds Shonuff, and Shonuff's beating the shit out of this dude. Like, it's just like, should I kill him? Should I kill him? I love how they're going to offer him money, and he's just like, nah.
Save your money.
Like, no, you just make sure he's at the spot at the certain time so I can display him and by dismemberment. What's that line? I love this line. I gotta look for it.
Did you write down his one-liners?
I didn't.
See, I was trying to write down the one every time. The one in the not the arcade, the pizza shop, and I thought the one at the movies was pretty good too.
Hold on, there's the one who says, "Keep your money." I'll do it. Keep your money. You just get that sucker to the designated place at the designated time, and I'll gladly designate his ass for dismemberment. I love that line. Designate his ass.
Yeah, I was like, that's a little, some of these lines are like nowadays what we would say a little sus, but back then it made sense. It was cool when they did it.
Okay, so Eddie captures Laura. Richie was there because Richie heard some commotion. He was like, "Get off my woman!" He gets captured. It's just sucker Leroy to come in. That's when Leroy fights all of the goons, right? And that's when his fucking his martial arts school also comes and helps. They start whipping ass so that they're better than that. I liked while before that I like how Eddie was playing with the music and he sees a I think it's called like a certain artist. He's like, "Who's that? Does he have a manager?" Because at this point, him and his girl broke up because she was tired of his shit.
Yep.
Like, you're only gonna get by your tits.
Yeah, man. That was like, I mean, I get he's the bad guy, and I knew he was treating her like that, but that whole scene, especially because they're trying to rip off Safety Dance,
Yes.
which I
Oh, it's
hate.
called Test Drive. Test Drive.
Yeah, it was test. I was like, it's
For
Safety
Test Drive.
Dance because they got the same outfits, and all they had to
Right,
do
yeah,
was
yeah. But it's all about it's all about having like a little sex, like having like
Mhm.
premarital sex. It's a little test
Yeah.
drive. Make sure I want to cuff that up.
So she was just singing sexual innuendos the entire movie, wasn't she?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's what. Okay. See, I honestly, her singing was so bad sometimes. Like that character, I was like, please get off the screen. But because like I forget what's the '80s singer that was, where she would just like scream and wail and like I never really liked it. She's the one that goes on. Have you ever seen the Michael Jackson recording of "We Are the World," where like he kills it because it's Michael Jackson, and then it's like I want to say
Okay,
it's like
so I
Michael.
recently watched, I think, a TikTok video or of Huey in the Huey in the news
Uh-huh.
doing it, and Michael Jackson just they keep just showing how Michael Jackson like disapprove of his lyrics, just like you can see him just like squinting at him, just like what the
Yeah,
fuck?
because he killed his
Okay,
part, and then it shows everybody else in the room like doing
you
their
know there's a Michael Jackson ripoff song here in the
really.
beginning.
Oh
Uh-huh.
yeah. They got. I mean, they got El DeBarge, which is like the closest you could get to Michael Jackson.
Oh yeah. I mean, even Timac looks like kind of a Bruce Lee, not Bruce Lee, but a Michael Jackson kind of look. Like Michael
Agreed.
Jackson before, I would say, the pretty young thing, Michael Jackson. So pre-Thriller.
Mm.
I wanna love you, take my teeth, pretty young thing. That's what Timac looked like. Okay, so at the end, all right. So we haven't really talked about the glow. So the glow is this, it's just kind of this level of mastery that he needs to get. Oh, I didn't get to this part. Before all that fucking fighting part. This is the scene I had the big problem with. So Laura brings Bruce Leroy to the studio and shows him the music video for The Glow. It's called The Glow. And it's showing Bruce Lee clips, okay? And he goes, "Oh, Fist of Fury." And I'm watching, I'm like, um, that's actually Big Boss. Like,
Oh, he said the wrong
that's
movie.
wrong movie. I was like, that's not.
Oh wow, I didn't even
I was
catch
like,
that.
well, because I'm a Bruce Lee fan, so I would know this. I'm like, that's not Fist of Fury. Because when it came over to the states, they switched them kind of.
Okay.
So then when he shows the actual Fist Fury, and he's like when like when Bruce Lee's on the phone pretending to be somebody, that is actually from Fist of Fury, and but they called it the Chinese Connection or whatever fucking stupid ass reason. America. All right, and that's when he gets the idea to okay, we have to get to this point because I've been avoiding this, but we have to get to the search for the master, and we meet three Asian dudes who do stereotypical black shit.
Yeah,
What's
no,
up, my brother? Look at
they
this
were like
giant turkey. I was like, oh my god.
they were like so racist that it was honestly likable by the end of it. If I'm being kind of real with you, because
They're
it was
playing.
like, okay, this is clearly a character written by a black man as a pure as a number one. They're stereotypes because all of their names, I'm not going to read them because they're racist, but all of their names are also Asian stereotype names, which I do kind of have a problem with that. But they also do stereotypical like what they would give black people in certain movies role, where it's
Well,
like
that's
you're
the thing.
clearly just the comedic relief. You have no actual value to this film.
The
And
comedic relief, smoking pot,
all
drinking
that, right? Like
craps.
talking
They're playing
jive.
craps,
Like I was like, what kind
playing.
of
What's up, my brother? What's up,
man
my?
that
Luckily, the
that
only
took me out,
person
bro. I'm sorry. That
I
the whole
know.
scene took me out.
Listen, the only person that actually says the N word is showing up, and I'm like, that's the only character that needs to do it.
Yeah, that's the only one I'd be okay with. Everybody else, it's like I don't know.
Right.
Maybe we're bad.
So you find out the master sends Leroy to a fortune cookie factory. Like there is no master. Like it was only a ruse.
Mm-hmm.
And Leroy doesn't get it. Like The master tells him, like, look, like you looked everywhere, but there's one place you haven't looked at, man. Like you haven't looked at, and you will understand when it comes. That's when Leroy knows he needs to fight Sho'nuff and everything, and that's when all the steps goes away. So then we get to the fucking main goddamn event. Motherfucking when Sho'nuff comes up, and you're like, whoa, shit! And he just starts whooping Bruce Leroy's ass, just whack, whack, whack.
Messing my man up, dog. That whole scene, I loved the music, and then the the music, but also the close-ups on Sho'nuff's face, where they kind of did those tropes where you would see like the Bruce Lee like being super serious, except Sho'nuff's face, I can't take him serious, but you could tell the actor was like,
"Oh yeah,
I'm the master," and it's like, again, you could tell he probably stood there saying that line several times.
What?
But
well, here's the thing, like
I love that, man.
Here's the thing is like Leroy, like the answer was right in front of him because in the whole time when Sho'nuff shows up, I'm the master. I'm the master. Who has Leroy's been searching for the master? Well, you're gonna find out who the master is if you fight somebody who thinks he's the master. Because as he's fucking whipping his ass, he gets the red glow on his hands. And there's a reference how like he's all like there's a reference in the I think in a theater scene where Leroy was like, you're only gonna have power within your hands or something like that, like within your grasp. Like there's like an old Asian saying, Confucius said, whatever.
I got you.
But you didn't like it. You didn't like the animation. I did not mind it. I thought it was. I mean, the movie's already goofy as it is.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've seen a lot of anime, so this is kind of like some anime shit right going on here. Just woo, whack, whack. Just basically like Sho'nuff reached a higher level, okay? And he's just fucking whipping his ass, whipping his ass, whipping his ass, whipping his ass, asking him, who's the master? Who's the master? Who's the master? And that's when, you know, like when he's doing this, fucking Leroy's getting his head dunked in the fucking water. Boom, boom.
Over and over and over. I mean, okay, so the glow effect, it did kind of take me out, but I'll say it didn't completely ruin it for me. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I think
it fits the time period is what I would say. I didn't want to get into that until the end part, but it does fit the time period. So I'm not against it. It's just like
I don't know how like you're so you need it. I think that it helps to show the level because you need to have a visual representation that they have reached. That's why like Dragon Ball Z is so fucking cool because when Goku turns Super Saiyan, there's a representation of how that looks. Okay, and the glow is kind of that. It's like turning into a Super Saiyan, like going to a level higher. I mean, it even has the yellow glow, and I don't think Super Saiyan showed up. It might have in Japanese at the time because the Dragon Ball Z was going on in the 80s. So, but it didn't come over here until like the 90s. So, so when Leroy thinks like, oh, the answer was within me the whole time. I'm the master. Once Leroy like takes the role as he's the master, because Laura like, well, you know, you look like a master to me, and like bites her lips because she thinks he's hot. So it's like, oh, that's right. I'm the master. Ah! And once Leroy gets the glow, that's the song. You are the last dragon. The song from the beginning reprises again. You are the last dragon. Whack, whack, and just starts beating the shit out of fucking Sho'nuff. You're like, God damn, and you feel it feels different. And I love the animation because when it hits it, it's yellow and the sparks come out. You're like, oh my god, that force. It's just to represent the force of this power up he gets. Okay, it's a representation of the power up. And yeah, and I don't think he kills Sho'nuff, like he saved him. I would love to see if there was a sequel to this and him and Sho'nuff like work together to fight a bigger bad. That would be badass.
I always thought that the character, the samurai from Samurai Jack that he fights in like season 2 was like Sho'nuff's like distant relative because like it's the same character. So I've always held out hope that Sho'nuff just shows up in other media because
he's referenced. He's referenced in hip hop a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. I mean, a lot of my uncles, their nickname on Facebook was like Sho'nuff for like a long time, like 2 of them. It's like
Kiss
Shona.
my.
I'm not gonna say. I can't say your name, Unc. Shout out to you. But I thought his middle name was Shona for a long time. So
So the movie ends. Eddie gets put. Eddie gets captured by the police. And then the movie ends with Laura playing some music at Seventh Heaven, and Bruce Lee shows up in his white gimmick suit and goes like, "Yeah, I want you to show me some moves." And then they fall in love and they kiss, and the movie's over. Just like
honestly,
that.
great ending. Got the Soul Train
So,
line ending.
so before we get to our ratings, is there a last thing you want to say about this movie?
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, number one, it has a lot of cool cameos in it. A lot of people from Motown that weren't actually popping at the time make cameos in it. You have like you actually have Carl Anthony Payne as one of the kids in the pizza shop, and he is one of the people that ended up on Martin. You have obviously William H Macy. You also have, I believe his name is Chaz Palminteri. He's actually the guy from The Usual Suspects. It's a movie I just recently watched. So there's a lot of people in this movie that kind of get kind of thrown away. You also have, I literally had it pulled up with all of the musicians that are in this movie, but essentially DeBarge is in the movie. You have Stevie Wonder is supposed to be in the movie, but they cut his song. And then Willie Hutch and Charlene are the ones that wrote "The Glow" and "Fire." And then you also have another. There's a Smokey Robinson track in there, but you only hear his background vocals. So basically, everybody from Motown, with the exception of the Jacksons, are in some way, shape, or form involved in this movie. I don't want to say the Jacksons. I'm probably blanking on a couple other people because it's kind of before our time. But yeah, I just always like to add that background information. It's pretty cool for me because I love music, and I thought the soundtrack in this one was pretty decent. The soundtrack didn't sell well, but the soundtrack was pretty decent.
Well, I don't think this movie did well, but I think it's a
No.
cult classic for sure. I think people have discovered it and loved it. But Frankie, we're at that portion of the show when we ask the question, does this film hold up? Because here at the look back, we don't simply say this movie's good or bad. No. We are here to find out if certain films hold up. Because in the search for great films, one of my key credentials is it must be timeless. Great films can be watched every time period and still can be enjoyed. So, Frankie, I'm going to ask you this question. Does The Last Dragon hold up?
Man, I mean, for what the movie is supposed to be, I I can't say that it does, but I had such a good time with this movie that honestly, I think it holds up in a way that has kind of made me rethink what I mean by holding up. It kind of made enlighten me on a lot of kung fu stuff. It kind of enlightened me on some of the background of like how people felt about the movies during this time period. And honestly, it has like a very 80s soundtrack. But I can't say that it holds up just because some of the quirkiness is what takes me out of it. That and then the racist Asian guys kind of threw me off too. There's also a transgender joke in here. I don't know if you caught that one in the movie theater.
Yes.
And so just some of the side jokes in here don't age well, but overall, I enjoyed it, man. But I can't say that it holds up, brother.
Wow, that was short and sweet. Okay, so
And I can
I
add more.
love this movie. I picked this movie and I thought it'd be a great film to watch right after you watch Way of the Dragon. Because a lot of the stuff here reminds you a lot of a Bruce Lee film here. I think the Shonuff battle is I wouldn't say as great, but pretty up there to the Chuck Norris Bruce Lee film that we watched.
Mhm.
Um, Fist of Fury, it reminds me it has a lot of elements of all the Bruce Lee films. But it does not hold up because of the lore plot line. The music video Eddie Arcane plotline does not hold up.
Doesn't make any
That's
sense.
the one that dates the most because that's the one that shows the most music. That's where it shows like the Coke is it. So there's product placement right there. And to me, it's just like how I felt about New Jack City, where it's just like that once that the cop storyline happened, I was just kind of lost interest.
Yeah.
So my interest was always with Shona. Like to me, when I think of the Last Dragon, I think of that fight in Shona. I kind of always forget about the lore plot line because it's not that very interesting. Especially since like music videos are not even a thing right now. Like who watches music videos unless you search it for yourself? There's no show that tells you or dictates what music video you want to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a relic of its time,
Absolutely.
but it's still a good movie. But no, it does not hold up. But well, Frankie, that's two no's. So when a film gets two no's from the reviewers, that means that film has been buried. Throw it in the ground, forget about it, never see it again. Go back to its time. That's where it belongs. Bury it. Goodbye. Rest in peace, bitch. Not really, because like I love this movie. But
Yeah, no, I'm.
who's dated? Shown up. Who needs to go back into the ground? Shown up.
Yeah, no, bro.
What is
I
the best
mean,
movie that we told to go down the ground? That'd be The Last Dragon. So
yeah, bro. I mean, like we've been saying all along, it is a fun movie. I
yeah,
watched it just on a weekend evening, just to break up football, and it honestly, it honestly was probably the best part of my weekend. Made me
yeah,
laugh, kind of made me like nostalgic a little bit because my parents were like really big Motown fans. So some of the artists, I was like, oh, that's El DeBarge. Like I don't know why I keep going back to El DeBarge, but El
you're like
DeBarge
I
is in the
like I like
movie.
it.
I like El DeBarge, whatever. Sue me. They made great music, but no, man, it's a enjoyable film, man. Especially if you like the tropes of the kung fu movies, like you and I have like come
Yeah,
to love, and that's something I'm now getting more into. Like I've got several movies I got to watch now, but yeah, I love the movie. It just doesn't. It's too much of an '80s movie to hold up for like any other time period. You know what
yes. Honestly, if they would have just cut the whole Laura character
I'm saying?
and that whole them be like, but since it's Motown Productions, like they wanted to focus the music and bring a Timex. That's another thing too. I don't think Timex acting is that strong. It's actually pretty fucking goofy, and he's just fun to laugh at his line deliveries. It's a good bad movie. Like
Yeah,
it's a good movie to watch with a group of people, especially when Show Enough shows up. I mean,
absolutely.
but but put on the comments below. Give what's your opinions on The Last Dragon? Did you see the movie? Do you think it holds up? Put it on the comments. Start the conversation going. We love to interact with our fans.
Man, yeah, absolutely. Please make sure you guys are letting us know too if anything that we missed. I know some of my facts for today's movie are kind of off. I know there's a lot of Motown people I probably missed. Let me know in the comments because I will definitely be going back to catch some of the little details. I actually just had somebody tell me a detail that I missed that we'll talk about off screen, Josh. But there is a lot of good things to come out of this movie. Please watch it. Like, let us know what you thought. Like Josh just said, leave comments, like, and subscribe. I don't have anything else for this one, man, other than who is the baddest podcaster in the game?
Well, that'd be me. I'm the baddest. Well, and you are too. Who's the greatest? What's the greatest movie podcast in YouTube? The Look Back.
Right here,
Joshua, the
baby.
necromancer of film. He's Frankie. And you know what, guys? We'll see you at the movies.